Listen, we love that nervous system regulation hacks are taking over, but before you try another ashwagandha supplement, you purchase your infrared sauna, or you book another wellness retreat to Sedona, there's something you need to understand. Like most hacks, a lot of these options only go to the surface level and they lack the depth to truly heal and to truly repair the nervous system. We love all the wellness approaches that are becoming more popular from functional medicine, supplements, detoxes, diet changes, fitness, or other hacks like this. But we're still hearing the same thing from our patients, which is, I've tried everything, but we're still stuck. Nothing is actually working. The brain fog, the exhaustion, and the anxiety persist for parents. The sleep issues, the sensory challenges, or the behavioral struggles are still there for the kids. But here's the point, guys. You cannot regulate a system that needs repaired first. Until we dive deep and repair these foundational neurological challenges, everything else ends up as just a surface level band-aid. So parents, please listen in. This is for you. If you're exhausted from trying intervention after intervention and it's still stuck, you're still not getting the results you want. I want you to understand the difference between nervous system regulation, nervous system repair, and why a lot of these wellness practices, even though we love them, even though they're good, even though we do a lot of them ourselves, they're missing the right sequence or the right order for them. We've had a crazy explosion of chronic illnesses, right? We have 2/3 of adults are dealing with some sort of chronic illness. Up to close to half of our kids are in that same camp as well. And there's something else going on. This has led to parents looking elsewhere, right? We've seen these explosions of more holistic approaches, but we also want to acknowledge and realize that we're still stuck. We're still dealing with this upward trend. We're still dealing with more and more sick kids. So yes, that is a piece of the story, but I think there is an underlying missing piece that is still there that we're still got to address. So let's get into that. What is the difference between repair and regulation? What are we saying when we use those terminologies? Well, I want to explain that nervous system repair is actually addressing the underlying dysfunction. It's that underlying interference within the nervous system that's either from past trauma or the accumulation of stress, the accumulation of what we would call physical, chemical, or emotional stress, traumas, toxins, and thoughts. Those stressors, they end up loading up your system to a point where you can't adapt to them anymore, and it leads to your system being stuck in fight or flight. You'll hear us refer to that as the gas pedal, referring to the gas pedal versus the brake pedal as the sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system. Some of you science nerds know that terminology as well. Those are the two different branches of the autonomic nervous system. And where we're at between those two, that fight or flight mode versus a rest, digest, wellness mode, that is at the crux of so much that's going to control many, many aspects of our overall health and overall wellness. So when that underlying architecture, when that underlying foundation is off, it touches everything. I want you to understand it through that framework, really an architectural, analogy here. The foundation of the nervous system that is needed to build a 2-story house is different than the foundation that would be needed for a 20 or a 50-story skyscraper, right? There's a different underlying base that's needed. You can put other layers on top, right? Say we have the foundation for your ranch or your 2-story house. You can try to build on that. You can try to layer up, but eventually it's going to crumble because you're missing that underlying root of it all. Whereas if you have the foundation piece, right, if you have the right brain architecture, so to speak, you can absolutely build on top of that. And that's one of the points that we want to get to at the end here is that once you're in a ready state, once you're in an adapted, regulated place, you absolutely can and should use these other modalities to support healing and address them. I would absolutely rather somebody have a mindfulness and a meditation and a deep breathing technique and a routine to support that than be on some sort of medication that might be disrupting their biochemistry and their body's own attempts to fix that. So think of it this way, just repair is fixing the engine, whereas regulation is just learning how to drive differently. We want to address those underlying deeper levels, not just try to put a new coat of paint on the cracked walls, right? So that's the big distinction here. A lot of people are familiar with the concept of the body keeps the score. There's an amazing book. It's really the Bible of trauma-informed therapy, but the body keeps the score. The title itself really tells you what you need to know. Our nervous system, our physical expression, the tissues, the cells, that the neurology holds on to trauma that we've experienced, whether that's physical trauma or maybe some emotional experience, some negative mental stressor, or honestly physical or chemical exposures as well. We don't think of it that way. We don't think of I had a crappy diet or I was anxious or stressed up about something and that made my back hurt. But it's so connected. I was just talking about that with a patient this morning. They were trying to figure out how They ended up with a really locked in sore low back and pelvis this weekend, and it was because they were coming off of a big moment of stress and tension in their life and in their work balance last week. So that has a huge difference. The physical expression of those stressors can come from non-physical sources. Your body goes into that survival mode, and you cannot talk your way out of trauma that is stored internally. That's one of the things that book, and I would encourage you to check it out. The Body Keeps the Score. Really, really good. Really intense, though. Let me give that disclaimer. If you've had some struggles, some trauma, some significant events in your past, go into it knowing that you're probably going to work through some of that. You're probably going to experience it and revisit it a little bit because it is heavy and is weighty. Amazing, good, and needed, but there's your disclaimer. You cannot, but the point is you cannot just talk your way through that, think your way through that. We've got to address those deeper levels. The nervous system stress that's stored in your neurospinal system, your vagus nerve, you can't just get rid of that with a breath pattern. You can't just undo it with a meditation retreat. So that's the foundational principle. You cannot be in growth and protection at the same time. So if your body is in protection, if your body is in survival, nothing else is going to help get out of that. There's one other layer to this, guys. The perfect storm. That's what we refer to when we have this story of kids stuck in stress that are struggling from the start of life. The perfect storm gets this to an even deeper level, because what we're seeing with so many of the kids we take care of is there was maybe pregnancy stress, birth trauma or intervention, whether that's C-section or something didn't go well. They ended up with a NICU stay. They had a vacuum extraction, or maybe forceps were needed, or they got stuck for a while. Some sort of pregnancy stress, birth trauma, and uterine constraint led to them being stuck in survival mode from day one. You add to that maybe early medication usage or early other chemical exposures, and we've got a kid who is stuck in fight or flight. That's going to show up as a kid who is not happy. Colic, reflux, constipation. That's the norm for so many babies, and that leads to ear infections. It leads to head and neck tension. It leads to asthma and gut issues and all sorts of other consequences from those antibiotic usages and some of the underlying stress that's shown up in their system. So if we don't address that, it's going to turn into the kid who is dealing with that chronic lifelong challenge, whether it's ADHD or sensory challenges or anxiety or autism. We see the kids who are older and later in life dealing with the neuro issues almost always had that start to life stuck in stress from the get-go. There's exceptions, but man, I can't tell you how frequently we see that perfect storm journey from day one. In those cases, they even need that repair more intensely, because when it starts from day one, it's the only thing your body ever knows. You're locked in fight or flight since the moment you start life. It's going to take a lot more to undo it, right? Those nerves that fire together, wire together, and they become even more deeply ingrained. So the momentum is key, the care plan is key, the frequency is key, but that's what we're here for, right? That is literally our role as neurologically focused pediatric chiropractors, is find that stress. That's why we love the nervous system scans, the insight that we use. And that's also honestly a huge part of the case history. It's digging into your kid's story or your story and figuring out, where did things go south? When did this show up in your life, so that we can figure out how long is it going to take to undo it? How much momentum, how much frequency is it going to take to get them back on track? Because listen, as long as that fight or flight neurological stress is present, the rest of the stuff that you're doing, the rest of those hacks aren't going to make a difference like they should. I want you to keep up with it. Like I said from the get-go, we use and love those modalities and those therapies and those hacks ourselves, but it's only when your nervous system can handle it. It's about the sequence. It's about the order of healing, and you've got to start with the foundation. Neurology is at the base of everything else. Before you work on motor and tone and gut and immune and brain-based interventions, you got to have that foundation of neurological adaptation and neurological regulation. So let us help, guys. Find a pediatric chiropractor, specifically a PX Docs, a nervous system focused pediatric chiropractor near you, because addressing that is going to allow you to get more out of the rest of the whole smorgasbord of interventions you're using or considering using. Start neurology first. Address that, and then good things are going to happen. I hope that helps. Please reach out to our team. Send us a message, comment here. If you want to dig into this more, if you have other questions on how you can actually repair those underlying problems and issues, we're here for you. Can't wait to meet you soon and help your family thrive.